My wife cheated on me with my golden child brother and got pregnant. I kicked her out, but now my family demands I pay for the child after my promotion. For as long as I can remember, my brother Kevin was the golden child. He could do no wrong. Whether it was excelling in school or later, his charming, effortless way of winning people over, my parents adored him. Every success of his was celebrated like it was an achievement for the whole family, and every failure of mine was met with disappointment. No matter how hard I tried to succeed, I was always in Kevin's shadow. Growing up, I thought I was just imagining things. Every family has favorites, right? I figured once we got older, we'd grow out of this dynamic. Surely my parents would see that we were both worthy of their love and attention. But I was wrong. Even into adulthood, nothing changed. Kevin could get into trouble, skip responsibilities, and never hold a stable job. My parents would excuse him with a chuckle and a boys will be boys attitude, while I got the lecture about how I needed to step up and set a good example. I tried not to let it get to me. I focused on building my own life, on becoming someone I could be proud of. I worked my way up in my job, married my wife Jenna, and built a future I thought was solid. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. Things with Jenna had always seemed good, or at least I thought they were. We met during college, and she had this lively, adventurous spirit that drew me in. We were each other's rock in a lot of ways. She supported me through some of the rough times when my family's favoritism became too much to bear, and I thought we had built something that could withstand anything. But I guess I was wrong. It started subtly. Jenna would come home later and later from work. At first, I didn't think much of it. Her job was demanding, and we both had busy schedules. But then the excuses started to pile up. She was working late or meeting friends more often than seemed reasonable. She seemed distant, almost as if she were always distracted by something I couldn't see. I tried talking to her about it a few times, asking if everything was okay, if she was stressed about work or if there was something going on between us. But she brushed it off, saying everything was fine. I didn't want to be paranoid, but the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach kept growing. Something was off, but I didn't know what it was. I wanted to trust her. I needed to trust her. Little did I know, the truth was so much worse than I could have imagined. One night, I walked into the kitchen to find her phone buzzing on the counter. She had left it unattended, something she rarely did. A message flashed across the screen, and for some reason, my gut told me to look. I hesitated for a moment, telling myself that I was being ridiculous, but the uneasy feeling wouldn't go away. Against my better judgment, I unlocked her phone. What I found completely shattered me. The messages weren't from a colleague or a random friend. They were from Kevin, and they weren't innocent. My own brother, the golden child who could do no wrong, had been having an affair with my wife. As I scrolled through the messages, I saw months' worth of secrets, intimate conversations, plans to meet up behind my back, moments they had shared that I was clueless about. My hands trembled as I read the final message that made my world come crashing down. Jenna was pregnant, and it wasn't mine. The child was Kevin's. I confronted her that night. My voice shook with disbelief and anger as I laid the evidence in front of her. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. The look on her face told me everything I needed to know. She tried to explain, tried to say it was a mistake, that she hadn't meant for it to happen, but her words meant nothing to me. It was over. I told her to leave. That was the end of us. There was no coming back from that kind of betrayal. She packed her things and left, begging me to understand, but I couldn't even look at her. The house felt hollow after she was gone, but I knew I had done the right thing. I had to. But it didn't stop there. You'd think that after everything, my family would at least be on my side. Surely they would be furious with Kevin for betraying me like this. But once again, I underestimated how deep their favoritism ran. When my parents found out, they didn't rush to my defense. They didn't call Kevin out for what he had done. Instead, they downplayed the entire situation, acting as if it wasn't as serious as I made it out to be. "It's complicated," my mother said, over the phone when I first called to tell them. "You have to understand mistakes happen. You need to forgive." Forgive? Forgive my brother for sleeping with my wife? Forgive them for ruining my marriage? The audacity of her words left me speechless. My father chimed in as well, trying to take the neutral stance as he always did. You know, families go through things. We can't let this tear us apart. Tear us apart? As far as I was concerned, this was the final nail in the coffin. I had been the black sheep for so long, and now I was expected to forgive and forget for the sake of family unity? No, not this time. I cut them off, completely. I couldn't bear to listen to their excuses anymore, to watch them coddle Kevin and brush my pain aside. It was clear where their loyalties lay. I focused on my work, determined to move on and rebuild my life. And I did. I threw myself into my job, earning a well-deserved promotion and finally feeling like I had achieved something on my own terms. For months, I didn't hear from any of them. I thought maybe finally they had let me go, that they would leave me in peace. But of course, that was wishful thinking. One afternoon my phone rang, and it was my mother again. Her voice was gentle at first, trying to ease into the conversation. She started with small talk, asking how I was, pretending like nothing had happened. I saw through it immediately, waiting for the real reason she had called. Jenna had the baby, she said, almost casually. It's a boy. Kevin's struggling with work and, well, you're doing so well now, aren't you? With your promotion and everything. I stayed silent, bracing myself for whatever absurd request was coming next. We think it would be good if you could help out, financially, of course, she continued. I mean, you're his uncle, and Kevin's been having a hard time. It's family, after all. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother, after everything that had happened, was asking me to financially support the child of the affair that destroyed my marriage. It wasn't enough that Kevin had taken my wife and my future with her. Now, I was expected to pay for it? Are you serious? I asked, my voice cold with disbelief. She sighed, as if I were the unreasonable one. We're family, and family helps each other out. Family. That word had lost all meaning to me. I had been nothing but loyal to them, but when I needed them most, they chose Kevin. Every single time. I'm not giving you a cent, I said firmly. Kevin can take care of his own mistakes. And don't call me again. I hung up and haven't spoken to them since. It took a long time, but I've realized something important. Family isn't just about blood. It's about loyalty, respect, and support. And when those things are missing, you owe nothing to the people who betrayed you. I've moved on from that chapter of my life, and though the wounds still sting, I'm stronger for it. I'm no longer living in Kevin's shadow. For the first time, I'm standing in my own light. Thank you so much. Subscribe this channel.